Okay. It's 2004 and you can't play any good PC games. You're 8 years old, you're broke, your E-Machine's computer has the processing power of a modern day track phone, and your deadbeat parents are too stingy to pay for the newest, biggest online game for the next 15 years. To survive these inhuman conditions, you make the best of it. Adventure Quest, PlayStation, Zhao Zhao, Madness Interactive, until one day your AOL search for free games online comes back with something you've never seen before. A game about exploring a vast open world, filled with monsters, bandits, bosses, bots taking your camps, and the biggest enemy. The people who fucking made it. Silkroad Online is a Korean free-to-play MMO that first launched back in 2004, set in 7th century China and Eastern Europe along the Silk Road. It features a vast open world, plenty of things to kill, cutting-edge graphics, the triangle trade system, a system that many lovers of the game will claim has never been remade in the modern day and age, quests, mounts, transports, bots, and a character progression system and grind that can only be described as a lesser-known crime against humanity. But don't fret, little one, because we're not harming people with years of addiction to a game that has a grind that would make games like Black Desert look like World of Warcraft. We're harming gamers. And gamers are not people. They're robots. So let's get started. We'll head to the JoyMax main page to get Silkroad. The game is still in service today after all. Not to mention, this website is one of the best resources in English to learn about the game and everything that we have in store. We'll make an account and then download the game. The website is a little bit old, so you might want to wait 15 to 30 minutes if things aren't working properly. Now let's start the game. Pick your server and log in, create your PIN code. Have the game tell you that the queue is so long, they're not letting you wait in line, unless you spend $5 to enter the game immediately. Now close the game and pat yourself on the back, because you just conquered Silkroad Online. The official Silkroad Online. A game so fucking garbage and mismanaged, you couldn't pay me to play the official version.
No. My body.
Now, I'm not one to complain often, nor am I very smart. So if you choose to spend the equivalent of a low-budget indie game released in the modern day and age for access to your favorite grindfest MMO that came out 18 years ago, I honor your commitment and your dedication. But please leave in the comments below why the fuck you choose to give your money to a company whose player base has been a talking point for IT security conventions for the past 6 years. But if you're like me and you believe it's other bullshit to pay for access into a multiplayer game, then go back to Google and look up Silkroad Private Server and pick any that you find appealing, but more importantly, legitimate. That's because we're looking for a community and we're not looking to have our mother's credit card hacked again. She got really angry with us last time. No, but seriously, remember that private servers are a place where you are inviting potentially malicious software onto your computer and network willingly, and it is always worthwhile to do your research to be sure you're not compromising your own security. I do not recommend installing these clients on any work computer or PC that is connected to a network that you do not own and manage yourself. We are mostly going off a trust system here, and on the internet, that is always a bad idea. Got all that? Good. Now be a pal and turn off your Windows Defender or other antivirus software. We won't be needing it. And it can get annoying to hear it false flagging everything you download and install from the pseudo dark web. And I don't call it that to scare you, just to acknowledge that most people have never heard of this shit. Once you've found a decent server, we're ready to play the game. You have two races to choose from. The Chinese, a race of martial artists that use a mysterious energy within themselves to control fire, ice, lightning, and force. They have 3 different fighting styles with a total of 5 different weapons to choose from. Chinese characters spend their time looking cool and strengthening their attacks with the elements, a solid choice for playing out your favorite wuxia fantasy. And then God said, "Let there be whites," when JoyMax released their first expansion for the game, introducing Europeans, a race of adventurers with a more traditional class system, having 6 classes total and 9 weapons to choose from. Character creation involves you picking the pre-made character you wish to play with very little customization to offer. But we at least have an interesting cast of characters, each with their own backstory, including but not limited to Sim Hong, Angang Gurui, Chalryon, and my personal favorite, Ban Soryong, a literal monkey man Sigma male who serves the Jechong De Thiong, which I can only assume is something like the 7th century Chinese version of the DMV. Truly a fitting punishment for being of unpure blood. He has no friends, but he does hold his spear badass, and he will suspend your CDL, whether you like it or not. If you don't like the way this looks or sounds, then don't worry. The makers of the game dipped into their budget to include more grounded, realistic characters for Europeans, including everybody's favorite hero, Bacon, or alternatively, everyone's favorite villain, Lucifer. Once you've picked your character, go ahead and pick your weapon as well and start the game. Depending on which server you've chosen to play on, you're going to immediately notice a few things if you've played this game before. Your starting equipment will be strong as fuck, equivalent to playing on the official servers for at least 5 years. Everyone in the game will be wearing the same costume, presumably because you can enchant that costume with magic, but I never wore it, so I wouldn't know. Your character will more likely than not also be born as Chinese or European Jesus, having enough skill points to never worry about grinding for them for your entirety of the game. Be thankful, because the grind of the original game is so intense, so mind-numbingly mundane, that 5 million skill points at level 1, just so you don't have to sit through months of fighting the same level 34 monster and repeatedly dying to purposefully de-level yourself just to grind out more, is more than a welcome addition. Also make note if the server has a funny button that automatically equips you with the appropriate gear as you hit milestones. It'll make your grind a lot easier. My server's funny button automatically equipped you to the 9th tier of equipment, or till around level 80, when the max level was 110. If you think this makes things too easy, I'll make this point again if I haven't enough already. The original, official version of the game is complete and utter bullshit, so don't feel like things are too tilted in your favor. Yet. Now you've killed your first few monsters and gained a level or two, so let's talk about builds. There are only 2 key stats that you can invest in, strength and intelligence. Strength increases your physical damage and resistance to that damage, while intelligence does the exact same thing for magic damage. Pick one, and only one, for that character. We're not fucking around here trying to be fancy or anything, we're min-maxing here, and anything other than that is either an experiment or a total waste of time. For Chinese characters, Bixiong and Huxiao weapons have their physical and magical counterparts, while Paithion works well with either pure strength or intelligence. For European characters, you want to maximize the stat for the class you prefer to be effective with, as many of their builds include buffing or healing your character with the Bard or Cleric classes. This is because every European character has a 15-second cooldown on their consumables, presumably because of their hesitancy to Eastern medicine. Understandable. European characters will have more options towards supporting their allies or two-shotting most enemies in the game. Warrior Cleric is an example of one that does both well, supporting themselves and their allies and then making their adversaries one with the ground, being able to heal themselves if needed, and introducing the people of the East to the grace of God. Chinese characters will be martial arts masters, constantly imbuing their weapon with the element of their choice, significantly increasing their damage, chugging potions like there's no tomorrow, it becoming their lifeblood. I have a memory of my brother asking me why I was struggling with this game when I was 10 years old. I had to explain to him that my baseball-sized brain was convinced to sell all of my gear for potion money. Truly the essence of Chinese culture, not living by the grace of God, but rather by industry. Speaking of selling all of my items, keep in mind that Chinese characters have an overall mastery limit of 330, and for Europeans, 220, meaning that you can only level up so many skill trees per race. I did not remember this and had it told to me 3 hours into the game, and unless you have the gold for a skill reset, you've soft-locked yourself into having a few too many chromosomes, so you're better off restarting. But if you understand all of that, be sure to turn on your auto potion feature and go explore the rest of the game. Silkroad Online was a decent looking game back in the day, and most of its textures and effects hold up in the modern day and age, Although this game was not intended to run in 1080p, so the camera UI can bug out every once in a while, not to mention the draw distance is incredibly low, so unfortunately the landscape is usually empty, although the areas themselves are varied and pleasing to look at, from frozen landscapes to lush mountains, ancient ruins to malevolent shrines. There's a lot to say about the art direction in this game. Same is true with the monsters, with champion, giant, and unique variations of monsters keeping things visually pleasing enough for you to stay interested. Some of the animations in this game are astounding, and that still holds up to this day. There's something pleasing about watching the chain skills in this game, and not having to play years to be able to unlock them makes things even better. The weapons and armor look good as well, although maybe a little bit bright once you start stacking enhancements on them. But overall, the entire game is more than satisfactory for it being free. Combat is pretty simple for both races regardless of your build. As a Chinese character, make sure you have all your available buffs active, bind your elemental imbuement of your choice to your middle mouse hotkey, and start pressing buttons. If you're a pure intelligence character, you should consider at a certain point removing your melee abilities entirely, as nukes, or elemental damage abilities, cast faster than most melee abilities and will make the most of your intelligence whilst using a sword or spear. Pure strength Chinese will instead pummel their enemies into dust with a flurry of attacks or combos while using a blade or glaive. If you choose to use a bow, I believe that intelligence works better for PvE as opposed to strength for PvP, but I wouldn't know because I never used bows. I also never used a European character until my most recent playthrough of the game, so I'm not going to comment on how to properly build them. I spent maybe 2 to 3 hours in the game before even realizing my potion had a 15-second cooldown, and I never considered myself qualified to speak of the Byzantines. But looking for guides and discussions on the forums can definitely point you in the right direction. As you kill monsters, they will also drop red essence. Obtain 5 and you can use your Kaioken with the tab key, giving a ton of movement speed and damage, and allowing you to curb stomp in PvP. I recommend saving it just for that, or for tougher monsters if you desire. The grind in this game was made to be grueling, but based on the server you've chosen, and the monsters you find throughout the world, you'll be nearing level 100 after just a few hours of gameplay. If there's any private server that has their experience rates untouched to reflect the experience rates of the official server, please contact me and give me a link to that server, so I can contact their administrator and ask them about their local water supply. There are also plenty of quests to do in the game. Unless you are in a low experience rate server, I can't recommend doing any of them except for one. That's because the quests in this game are designed to be a waste of time and only give golden experience. They also offer very little in story and world building due to the poor translation of the game. The one quest I recommend doing is your Blue Berserk quest that is worthwhile and still tries to waste your time. It goes as follows. Talk to General Sung Hyung in Jing'an. He will tell you that the world is big and scary, and he's willing to give you secret power if you can pass his test. The test is to kill an army captain in an instanced area, or to survive 10 minutes to assert your dominance, whichever comes first. This captain is no joke. If you're not strong enough to survive this, go find some more gear and make sure you have enough defensive skills available. Even at level 100 with enhanced gear, you probably still won't do enough damage to kill him, but if you can, congratulations. You've prevented the game from wasting exactly 10 minutes of your time. Once you finish the quest, he will tell a long-winded story about how the Imperial Army once slaughtered a group of mad scientists but stumbled upon ivermectin, a mythical medicine that boosts the power of berserkers, but not wanting that power to get into the general population, restricted it only to those he deems worthy. He will tell you to talk to Exorcist Miao Ryong at her home for further instructions. Mao Ryong will explain to you that to unlock your inner potential she will need a spirit shell, but those only rest inside old tombstone ghosts, so to wake one up you will also need a spirit bell hanging from the necks of the lions inside Qinshi tomb, and you will need the help of the monks in town to do so. Once you've gotten your spirit shell, head back to Mao Ryong, where this hoe will then tell you to go to the fucking desert 2.5 states away, where you need to capture a spirit for the Ritual of Power. You will also need another kind of spirit, a flutter spirit, to repay her for the talisman that she gives you to make the traps that you will need to capture the spirits. Get your traps from Gwaki of the Hunters Guild in town and get moving. Capturing the spirits involves being far away enough from monsters to place the trap, then luring Nia generals over the trap to capture them, or at least attempt to capture them. These traps only work half of the time. More than half of the time, however, you will only capture flutter spirits, making this entire process fucking infuriating. I've spent close to an hour at this step every time I've done it, except for once, where I got lucky in maybe 20 minutes. Make sure your inventory is clear before doing this as well, as the flutter spirits cannot be dropped. They get a little attached, you see. Once you have both spirits, head back to Snake Soil Susan, and she will congratulate you for surviving coded in bullshit.
Get the fuck.
Now you're ready to summon a soul. Accept and talk to her again. To capture this soul, you will need Berserk mode, otherwise the ritual will fail. Make sure you have your Berserk ready and kill the spirit. And voila, you've now unlocked Super Saiyan Blue. Now fuck off and go kill some more monsters. Soon, upon nearing level 100, you may notice the game is turning into a little bit of a boring grind. That's completely understandable considering the nature of the game and its creators. I, for one, have played this game for well over 10 years now, on and off, starting on the official servers as a kid, and eventually private servers once they actually existed around 10 years after the game's release. I have no issue with abusing the official game or any derivative of such because of the impossible nature of the late game grind. And apparently, luckily, the administrator abides. When I was farming harpies with a fellow gamer that I met, he informed me that up to 3 Silkroad automated robots are allowed from the same device and up to 6 from the same IP address on this particular server, and they provide the software for you. Lovely. I didn't feel like searching the internet for a program over a decade old to probably give myself a virus. Not like I would notice anyway, since I turned my antivirus off 4 days ago. The software isn't the easiest to use and may require looking up a guide if you can't make heads or tails of it. It is, however, very thorough, allowing you plenty of options towards letting your PC play the game for you whichever way you decide to grind. I got the software provided and quickly made myself a pure intelligence Chinese swordsman for more damage, as well as a European warrior cleric to buff my allies and make them virtually unkillable, then repaid my monkey man for his hard work, giving him some friends. From level 101 to 110, I used the botting software to automate the process, not having enough hours in the day to reasonably level up quickly, and not wanting to give myself arthritis from pressing keys for more years than I already have. Upon watching my trio confidently recycle level 107 party giants, I had an epiphany on what I had just found. This is the best Granado Espada remake we're going to get, as well as one of the best idle game experiences I've had in a long time, returning home to my PC after a night of drinking, only to see that my character has been standing in front of a merchant doing nothing after dying hundreds of times due to running out of health potions and with his inventory full because I had set him to head back to town when he had filled his backpack, but never taught him how to liquidate his assets. Sell everything, buy potions, and get back out there, Tiger. Configure his settings to sell everything he owns except his own lifeblood. This is now the grind. Take everything and sell it unless it's a magic or attribute stone you need. Do this until you're max level and then grind for money and materials afterwards to enhance your gear. You may think, Wakanda, how great can a game be if you cheat at it? You're not playing the game because you're bored with it. You're just not good at it. And to those people I say 2 things. First, if you offer me a charitable donation of $5, I will gladly play the game with a Puritan mentality at the added cost of never hearing from me again for the next 5 years. Second, I play and have played this game not to be good at it, but to create a martial master. And in the past 18 years, there have been more than a few alternatives that do the same thing. So for the sake of expediting the process, I ask you to remember,
You're wasting my fucking time. You hear me? You know what time is for me? Money. Time is money.
Finally, let's talk about PvP. Or more importantly, the triangle trade system. A simple system that consists of traders, hunters, and thieves, all who do their respective jobs to stockpile gold. Traders buy goods at one city and transport it to another, receiving up to 6 times their investment in return based on how far they've traveled. Traders are a cowardly bunch, not stopping to kill thieves that spawn to kill your mount, but instead breeding their transport cattle to be just like them, potion-chugging, medicine-eating machines. Other players will easily be able to kill your mount and bless you if given the opportunity. Don't worry if this sounds too difficult for you. You can do a certain amount of safe trades per day to line your pockets, and players can't touch you. Hunters protect traders from dirty, stinky thieves and receive contributions for killing them for their transgressions. Protecting traders from the dangers that may await them, hunters are the good guys that protect the profit of the Silkroad, usually getting a piece of the pie themselves. Thieves are dastardly denizens of darkness who kill traders in their mounts to steal their goods, then use a thief return scroll to hightail it back to their hideout where they sell to a fence at a reduced price. Thieves are the ones that don't care about your potential losses, your premium mounts, or your grind for gold. They have their own grind, murdering all traders and hunters that come their way and taking the goods for their own profit. But remember, if the player is conducting a safe trade, then you can't touch them. If this sounds awful to you, then you're right. But at the end of the day, there's better options for being a true bandit anyway. Even when playing on an unofficial server, I was surprised by how many people participated in the triangle trade system. There's a PvP flagging system that's separate for a more casual experience, but it makes things more entertaining when no 5-star trade is too safe, and no potential mugging too hard to find. I've had my fair share of run-ins when following caravan of trading bots with over 30 NPC thieves following and attacking our caravan going according to plan, until 2 players show up and kill us for not respecting their views on Moorish traders in 7th century China. I've also made billions from doing the same thing myself. This was pretty damn fun, all things considered. I have always enjoyed this game, as mundane as it is, but coming back around in 2022 with all the tools in the toolbox felt like the first time I could truly enjoy the game. Sure, I'm not really playing the game most of the time, but the luster of getting hours of Cheeto dust on my laptop keyboard is gone now. But at the end of the day, I take Silkroad to be, at the very least, one of the best idle MMORPGs of all time. Thanks for watching. I decided to do this in the early morning, so I hope the sound of cars, chainsaws, and lawnmowers in the background didn't bother you too much. If you like this sort of stuff, subscribe and maybe I'll do some more. I do play other things even with Silkroad running in the background. Come by and maybe we can play something together if I'm convinced.